The market gaining 1.34%. Your views?
Hi Lerato, thanks for having me here. Well, market actually moved on the back of, we saw a lot of blue chip companies actually gaining in the market today. Surprisingly, the number of losers and the gainers almost stood at par, 26 gainers and 25 losers. But overall, because of the activities, the gainers chart were topped by most of the blue chips. You actually saw the market surging out to 225,000 points thereabout at the close of the trading for today. Basically, we think people begin to see some good value entry. Otherwise, some form of profit taking might come in, but at the end, I think we generally will see the market stay flat for most part of this week into next week.
All right, let's talk about what's happening on the forex side. We're still seeing the CBN struggling to meet dollar demand, relatively lower demand though for forex on the WDAS window, but the Naira coming in at 155, Naira 15 Kobo, a bit of dollar weakness creeping in, but still some pressure for the Naira.
Well, I mean, it's interesting. CBN window actually saw a greater move on the dollar side, but the interbank market actually reacted in a much muted manner. I think high level of liquidity in the FX market actually contributed to the factor. Typically, from the auction result for this week, whereby CBN is unable to fill about 44% of the demand, you would have seen the rate actually push much higher than where it closed for today's market. But like I said, some form of FX liquidity in the market actually tempering the move, and not forgetting the fact that the interbank market has actually been at a very wide premium against what the CBN window is doing. So you tend to see some form of tightening in the gap, and it's surprisingly it's the CBN window actually pushing towards the interbank window. But overall, like I said, some form of FX liquidity in the market actually tampering whatever surge you might have seen on the rate at the back of the auction for this week. But overall, I think yes, some form relatively lower demand from the CBN window, relatively lower supply also from the CBN window. Overall theme, I think there's some form of stability creeping into the market.
And will that stability be sustained post-elections, Nwabueze? What are you expecting to see by way of trends in demand for forex?
Well, I expect I will see some form of going into the weekend election, the major election, some form of stability stay in the market, while most players will tend to be on the sideline to watch the outcome of the election. I'm not a political analyst, but I would say that on the average, if the previous election results to go by and everything is adjusted to be free and fair, and we get a positive outcome on the election result, I think it should translate into some gains for the currency into the next week.
What do we read into this dollar demand, even though a little more muted this week? Some say capital flight with risks of the elections not taking place accordingly. Others are saying it's just dividend payouts. What do you read into it at UBA?
Well, on my take, I would actually put it more on the side of dividend payout, because we've seen a lot of multinational corporates actually reporting their earnings, the last financial year earnings, and as a result, we expect typically that some dividend repatriation will come into flows will be required and to come into the market. That is a factor. In terms of capital flight, maybe you might see a bit of that, or rather not capital flight. Maybe I would say lack of capital inflow, and as a result, you really do not see so much dollar liquidity in high levels like typically we would have expected coming to the market. But overall, I think you would see a lot of people on the sideline for now, actually waiting to see what the outcome of the election will be, which of course it's not really strange to Nigeria. It's typically what we would expect across a lot of developing countries.
Post-elections, what variables will impact on the exchange rate? Because right now, obviously, as you're saying, fence sitting as people watch the elections. After that, what is going to determine the fundamentals of the Naira?
Well, I think the major determinant will be the election outcome. A major determinant will be the way the election takes place, the way it's being perceived as being carried out. That will be a major determinant of what the exchange rate will trade at. Outside of that, if I put a pass back on the elections, other variables actually point towards the appreciation of the Naira, and we expect that obviously would happen into the market post-election.
Okay, the appreciation of the Naira and obviously other variables coming to play, fears of inflation. We're not sure what the figures for March are going to be, but there's a sense that with heightened election spending, we're going to see a higher inflation figure coming through. The CBN is intent on monetary policy tightening. Will that mitigate factors?
Well, I mean, if you look at the various factors in terms of looking at the CBN window and what their activities are in terms of tightening and controlling inflation, we've seen from the last MPC meeting, whatever the rate at which the movement of MPR rate by 100 basis points, that's a very strong signal. We've seen yields across boards, the government security actually moving tandem with what the CBN has done. I think to a large extent, I think they've seen some form of the effect of their tightening. Oh yeah, we might see some increase in inflation on the back of the report coming out next on the back of, yes, possibly spending that increased towards the tail of the election. But overall, I think the whole concept of price stability, exchange rate stability, and not forgetting we've seen oil actually moving at these highs. We expect that some stock will post some good values that would attract investors into the market. These are positive factors, and these are what we bank on to expect that post-election, everything working out well, we'll tend to see some appreciation on the Naira.
All right. Thanks so much for your time, Nwabueze Okonne, who's a Forex expert from United Bank for Africa, joining us there from our studios in Lagos, Nigeria.